Hello there. This is Impact Podcast. My name is Pastor George, and as always, I am delighted to get to break the bread of God's Word with you today. Friends, we have entered into what we know as Holy Week or Passion Week. This is the week when we get to celebrate the commemoration of the suffering, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. This is the week in history that changed all of humanity. The week when Jesus Christ paid the ultimate price and performed what we know as the substitutionary sacrifice. And so today I pray that this episode will bless your life tremendously. It is entitled, The Master Has Need of It. The Master has need of it. Let's go to Luke chapter 19. We're going to read from verse 28 to 35. Story that we all know because, this is a story of the triumphal entry of Jesus Christ into Jerusalem. But we will take a portion of it. Luke 19, 28 to 35. And I'm going to read the New American Bible, Revised Edition. The Bible reads, After he had said this, he proceeded on his journey to Jerusalem. As he drew near to Bethphage and Bethany at the place called the Mount of Olives, he sent two of his disciples. He said, Go into the village opposite you, and as you enter it, you will find a colt, or a donkey, some translation says, tied, on which no one has ever sat or no one has ridden on. Untie it and bring it here. And if anyone asks you, why are you untying it? Listen to this. You will answer, the master has need of it. So those who had been sent went off and found everything just as he had told them. And as they were untying the colt, its owner said to them, Why are you untying the colt? They answered, The master has need of it. So they brought it to Jesus. They threw their clothes over the colt and helped Jesus mount it. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, listeners alike, Luke 19:28 to 35, where we just read, describes Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem. This was a moment that fulfills the Old Testament prophecy and sets the stage for his final days before the crucifixion. Now, in this passage, Jesus instructs his disciples to retrieve a donkey, a colt that has never been ridden. When questioned, they are to say, the master has need of it. The colt is then brought to Jesus, who rides it into the city of Jerusalem as people celebrate his arrival, laying their cloaks on the ground in a sign of honor and submission. The master has need of it. Now, you must understand that this event, like I mentioned a few seconds ago, fulfills Zechariah chapter 9, verse 9. That is the Old Testament prophecy, which foretells that the Messiah would come not as a conquering warrior, but humbly riding on a donkey. The moment Jesus signifies his kingship and divine mission. Yet, it also carries a deeper meaning. His approach to leadership is one of humility, I must say, and peace, and not of power and force in the human thinking or in the human way of looking at power and force. Now, you must understand also that this passage reminds believers, you and I, that when God calls, he has a purpose for what he asks. The court was chosen for a sacred task, an assignment, just as believers, you and I, are called to surrender our lives to God's greater plan. So, to do justice to the scripture or even to this episode, I'm going to approach it from four perspectives. One will be the perspective of the court itself. Secondly, will be from the perspective of the owner of the donkey, the owner of the court. And then we're going to hear or take something or look at it from the perspective of Jesus himself. And then we are also going to look at it from the believer's perspective. And then finally, from God's perspective. So, from the donkey's perspective, number one, from the owner's perspective, number two, from the was a corner from Jesus's perspective, number three, from believers' perspective, number four, and then finally from God's perspective. Now, let's begin from the court's perspective. Now, it's interesting when I read the story, and one will wonder who buys a donkey and just let it sit there and never use it? Who buys a property and just drops it for years and never really? Sometimes we do here and there a few things, but I can imagine, or I'm trying to wonder what must be going on in the mind of the court. Now, the court stood there waiting. Remember that it had never been ridden before, never chosen, just another young donkey among many. Then strangers approached it, untied it, and when questioned, they simply responded, "The master has need of it." And then soon it was led to Jesus, who sat upon it, can you imagine, and rode into Jerusalem. I mean, you came to untie me. With all the barrage and the many questions that I have, all you can say to me in my confusion, in my bewilderment, it's that the master has need of it. What do you mean? I am supposed to be owned by somebody. In fact, somebody kept me here. You are not my owner. I have never seen you before. And then you come one day out of the blues, as we say, to untie me. I've been wondering, what on earth am I here for? Why am I here, tied, left, forgotten, never before used? And then you approach, you appear from nowhere and said, "The master." What master are you talking about? He was led to Jesus, who sat upon it and rode into Jerusalem. The crowd cheered, laying cloaks before it, but the court, I would think, understood. The praise was not for itself, but for him, the one rider sitting on it. It had been chosen not for its strength or experience, but for the master's purpose. What an honor to be used for his glory. Can you imagine with me for a moment what that donkey must be thinking in its head? If that court could speak, what would he have said, or what would it be saying? I can imagine that it would have surely wondered, what on earth am I here for? All this while, all these years, left alone. I mean, tied up, perhaps forgotten, and a feeling of despair and purposelessness would have overtaken the mind of that court. But the court never knew it, never knew that it was made for, it was prepared for, it was positioned for, and left for a purpose which will come to pass one day. And this day was that day. Now, if we try look at it from the owner's perspective, the owner watched as men untied his colt and immediately questioned them. Their answer for me was puzzling. Yes, it was simple. They said, "The master has need of it." If you were the owner, what would you say? "What are you talking about? What master? I bought this property myself. I paid for it. It's in front of my door, in front of my house. I am the one who kept it. I don't know you. I don't know where you come from. I've never seen you." And you say, "The master." What master are you talking about? I mean, those people would have been arrested. Really? Who shows up in your house and take your property, and when you ask them, they say the master has need of it? What an answer. In fact, what an effrontery. What mind, what guts would you have to go into someone's house or come to the front yard of someone and just get in their car and leave, so to say? And when they accost you, to wonder why, to ask or inquire why you're taking what belongs to them, you say the master has need of it. You must be an armed robber or thief to do that sometimes. I mean, if I was the owner, this is what I would be thinking. A master has need of it. There was no hesitation from this owner in the story. He released the colt, trusting that if the Lord had need of it, then its purpose was greater than he could imagine. He may not have known the full plan, but he surrendered willingly. How often does God ask us, his people, to release what they hold onto, what you and I hold onto? His call may not always make sense in the moment, but he never wastes what is given to us in faith, or what is given to him in faith. Now, I'm sure the owner himself didn't know nor understand why he bought the donkey in the first place. I mean, to a business mind, this will be perhaps a waste of investment. Money that is tied up, sitting there and not yielding any return whatsoever. Little did he know that a day would come when what seems in the eyes of many like a thoughtless, ridiculous waste of resources and asset wasted, and investment not used, not yielding any return, will be in high demand by the master himself. Now, let's look at it from Jesus' perspective. Jesus knew this moment had been prepared long before. His journey to Jerusalem, like I said in the beginning, was a fulfillment of prophecy in Zechariah chapter 9, verse 9. The cord had never been written, untouched, unbroken, yet it carried him without resistance. The people rejoiced, shouting, Hosanna. But he, Jesus, understood that their cheers would soon turn to cries for his crucifixion. The road before him led to the cross, yet his love for the word compelled him forward. The colt, the cheers, the palm branches, all pointed to his mission. Would they truly understand what was unfolding before them? Now, Jesus himself in his earthly ministry was like this colt. Think with me for a moment. In his earthly ministry as man, he was like this donkey that is taught. On one hand, he was the creator of the colt as God. But as man, he was that colt, that donkey, sent, prepared, and waiting for the master's call and need. But the difference here, or not the difference, Jesus himself willingly yielded himself for the master's sake. So on one hand, he is a creator. He is one who created the donkey. But on another hand, as man on earth in his earthly ministry, he was that donkey. He was the owner, and he submitted himself as the donkey itself. I am the owner, but then now I'm asking for that which I created. And he also humbled himself like that dog. In fact, the Bible says he was led as a sheep led to slaughter. He willingly yielded himself, submitted himself without resistance to be crucified eventually, because he understood that he was here. He came for an assignment. He came for a purpose, and everything that may have happened leading up to this time and even going forward was for a preordained assignment. He willingly yielded himself, the fulfillment of prophecy. He understood that this, in fact, like the owner, this has been foretold. The real owner had need. Now, let's look at it. So we've seen it from the court's perspective. We've seen it from the owner's perspective. We've seen it from Jesus' perspective. Now, let's look at it from the believer's perspective, from our perspective. How would you and I, how does this pertain to us? I want you to know that we are the colt. We are the donkey in some way. Sometimes tied up, waiting, feeling unused and unseen. That's right. We go through those moments. Sometimes we feel unseen, unused, unappreciated. We feel worthless sometimes or useless sometimes. Don't understand why we're here. Yet when the master calls, we must be ready to move. When the master calls, we must be ready to carry his presence wherever he leads. We are the owners called to release what we have for his kingdom. You must know and understand that you are part of the story, part of his mission, and the mission is that of redemption, surrender, and purpose. But the question is, when he calls, will you or will we say yes? As humans, we too, like I said at the beginning of this perspective here, are both owners of a court and a court ourselves. How? We are custodians of everything he has given us. Like the owner of the court, he understood that he was only a custodian. He is an owner, however, he is holding it in trust for the real owner. You and I are custodians of everything that God has given us. Our lives, our gifting, talents, wealth, resources, opportunities, intellect, relationships, everything we think we own are given to us by him for his use. This must be our orientation. This must be our mindset. We must remember, not only has he given us all these possessions for a purpose, but he created you and I, he created us to fulfill a purpose. So, we are like the owner of that colt in some way, and in another way, we are that colt, created unto God or unto good works for the master's use, prepared by God. God has given us giftings and abilities and resources, relationship, talent, intellect, opportunities. We own those seemingly in our mind, but we must realize that those were given to us for an assignment. They're given to us for a task, for a purpose. We are only custodians that God has deemed fit to bestow upon us everything that we have. But we must have the orientation that those are for his use. But also, we must understand that we, the owners, the human vessels, are like that court whom the master has a purpose for. A preset, a preordained assignment like Jesus. We too have our assignment on earth. So not only are you an owner of giftings, abilities, and talents, or whatever God has given you, you too are one that has been set, prepared, sent here, even though you feel unused sometimes. But remember that you are here for a purpose. You might feel forgotten, overlooked, unappreciated, but you are nonetheless here for a purpose. And then let's see from God's perspective, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, from the beginning, God had prepared the way. The court was ready. The disciples were sent, and prophecy was fulfilled. Jesus entered Jerusalem not on a war horse, but in humility, as was always the plan. Salvation through surrender. That was always the plan. The world expected a conquering king, yet God sent a suffering servant, even in perceived weakness. Jesus was victorious. The master had need of him, and he obeyed. Now God asks his people the same question. Will we obey when he calls? I want to leave you with that question. I want to leave you with something to reflect on. What do you hold on to that God may be asking you to surrender? Do you feel tied up, waiting for a purpose? But remember, when he calls, he's got a plan. Will you trust him and let him use you for his glory? The master has need of you and all that you own as we have entered this Passion Week and for the rest of our lives. Please remember once again that the master has need of you and all that you own. It may not have happened yet. It may not have come to pass yet. But remember, he's created you for a purpose, and that will surely come to pass if you let it. It will come to pass. The day will come. The question is, will you answer when he calls? The master has need of you. Have yourself a lovely day till I come your way again. I remain yours truly, Pastor